Despite ongoing efforts at the local, state, and national levels to deal with affordability issues, the state of Florida still has an affordable housing crisis, and that's the message of a recent report from the Florida Housing Coalition. In their Home Matters 2024 report, that group said that 2.4 million Florida households, they pay more than 30% of their incomes for housing, and 30,000 people experience homelessness on any given night in the state. Further, the report says that Florida has just 24 affordable and available rental units for every 100 extremely low income renters. No community in the state, they add, has sufficient housing to support that group of workers, which includes retirees and Floridians with disabilities. So one way that local leaders are hoping to help address those shortages are accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs. And our Sarah Winkleman takes a closer look at how building smaller units on the same property as a main home could make a difference in Orange County.
It's 530 square feet that could fill the need of a gap in housing.
The demand for accessory dwelling units has been there.
Dale Brill from Habitat for Humanity knows a thing or two about building houses, but for anyone else, getting started is stressful.
There are three things that kill innovation in housing: cost, complexity, and uncertainty. And what the platform that the mayor's office has created eliminates all three of those at the same time.
Ready, set, Orange. That's the program that launched 1 year ago. Anyone in unincorporated Orange County can apply. Once approved, you can choose one of the pre-designed plans and follow step-by-step instructions by the county to build.
This is evidence that they can be first class, they're fantastic.
The county has 8 layouts to choose from. 4 are single-family homes and 4 are ADUs. The Clementine ADU is the most popular option.
It's got functionality.
From the kitchen to the bedroom.
Yeah, this again, space. It just feels light. A walk-in closet. I mean, that's fantastic.
And to the bathroom.
The shower's got space to it.
Whether it's used to lease out to long-term renters for extra income, or in this case, an elderly family member to be close by.
It's been really interesting to see. Originally, we were looking at potentially young professionals, younger families using ADUs, but really the program has evolved with a lot more focus on aging in place.
Carter Gresham from Orange County said there are 160 people currently in the permitting process. Eventually, they want to add new designs, grow the program, and get more cities involved, but it'll take teamwork. In Orange County, Sarah Winkleman, Spectrum News.
And joining us now, we have Commissioner Maya Uribe. Thank you so much for joining us, Commissioner, to do a deep dive into this topic I feel like we've been talking about for years together. And Danny Arroyo, you're with Pathlight Home, and we're so excited to find out more about your new chapter there, a year and a half now,
yes.
and to find out your mission. So Commissioner, if I may start with you, break down some of the trends that we are seeing in Orange County in regard to affordable housing. Is there anything, first of all, good that you can report to start with?
Well, just like you did the segment on ADUs, that has been very good for us because it's now offering other options. See, prior it'd be a house, an apartment, mobile home. You had very limited, content or quality to be able to rent. Now with ADUs, you're actually giving that person who's starting up their life professionally, who has a small family, a new marriage, to afford something while they build to something bigger. And that's very exciting. But I think what's really important is we don't have a problem with the availability of housing. We have a problem with the affordability of housing because we have plenty of inventory in Orange County. It's just people can't afford to live there.
And Danny, jump in here. So with Pathlight Home, first of all, what do you guys do? And I imagine that you have so many stories from people seeking your assistance every single day. Just tell me about some of that.
Sure. So Pathlight Home's been in existence for over 30 years. And we do affordable housing for those experiencing homelessness. We have 560 units that we currently house singles. And we also have a drop-in center that focuses on the everyday, showers and laundry, but with the end goal of getting them housed.
So how is Pathlight then different from, say, other entities, coalitions, or things, resources that maybe folks are used to as well? What sets you apart?
So we house our clients into our units and then provide all the supportive services. We have case management on site, mental health counseling. We have an employment center where we help those in our units get a job or look for something better. We also have a 12-week culinary program that for our residents or our community to come and go through the course and get Safe Serve certified, banquet hall settings to hopefully go back and work in restaurants and hotels. So we pretty much do a little bit of everything, but it's always getting people into affordable housing, which is what we do.
So then what's the root of the source here? Why is this such a crisis? Why are people becoming homeless and staying homeless? What's up right now, Commissioner?
Well, it's a lot. And I want to also digress. What they do is great because they're taking people who are homeless and giving them a pathway back. Some of my concerns are people who aren't just making it. And you're seeing families live together, so they have a job, they have the capability, they just don't make enough money to cover the costs to live. But I think we both can agree homelessness comes from different aspects. You've obviously got mental health issues, you've got some addiction issues, you've got financial issues, but it never is a black and white answer. There's so much gray that surrounds it. And I think that necessarily, in my opinion, I think we also have to treat people who have a job, but they're just not making it. They're just falling behind, or they're one incident away from falling behind.
One incident
And those stories are the ones we get a lot, and we have programs to help. But I'll give you an example. I had a teacher who's employed. She's got a degree. She's got her bachelor's and her master's. She had an illness in her family that caused her not to be able to work, which got her behind on her rent. Once you're behind on your rent, you're always behind because there's a daily fee. It got to the point where she was so far behind in fees, they went to evict her. This is someone educated, someone who has a job, but just a tragedy turned her life around. And I think you want to try to prevent people like that to becoming homeless. You don't want them to go all the way down. And that's why we have pre-eviction programs. We have programs where I call it, where we'll give you that Band-Aid to catch up. Because her Band-Aid was only about $3,500. But if she'd become homeless, that $3,500 could easily turn into $30,000. So.
And so what you're saying, Commissioner Uribe, it's an economic issue, yes, but it's also a very personal issue.
Absolutely.
Tell us how the county or even the state, before we get back to you, Danny, is catering to that personalized aspect that I feel needs to be involved with this.
Absolutely. And we're going at it at different angles. So we do have a program that helps kind of, I don't want to call it subsidized, but can help you through that tough time where your car breaks down. Any little thing that, we hear that story, people are living check to check. And Danny meets those people, or their check just isn't enough. But we're also doing other things. We've got programs with Career Source, so you can improve your education, your job quality, so you can step it up. And sadly, we have a very beautiful town, but we also have a job market that doesn't pay enough to pay your bills, much less raise a family, much less with children with needs or a dependent. I took care of my mom for many years. Luckily, because of my husband, we could afford it. But I think if Danny or my world was, this is the line you come in because you just lost a job, or this is the line you come in because you need mental health support, or this is the line you come in because you don't have further education or training. If it were that simple, I think we actually could solve it. But it comes with so much. And then we have innocent children and all of that. That's where the heartbreaking is, because they're living a life that no child should see.
And just to piggyback, there are a lot of resources out there for those that are looking for rental assistance, and it's just putting them right where they should be or what kind of service they need. But there are services out there to help those that are struggling with 1 month's rent or their utilities. So there are services that people can look into.
And it's just getting that pride to step up, to utilize those sort of resources, and just to know that they exist, which hopefully will help some folks out, with this program. And I do want to talk a little bit about a state law. This is a state law that was passed 2 years ago, the Live Local Act. And so the whole point of this law was really to encourage building more affordable housing by speeding up building approval. So Danny, what sort of results have we seen by speeding up these approvals with what you do at Pathlight?
Well, with us, we run our own property. It's our property that we own, so we get to move people in based on their current state. We make sure that they get all the essentials afterwards. They get all the case management, the peer support, just do everything that they need after they move in, so they get stable, get to work. So that's kind of what we do.
And they get an address,
Yes.
right? That's one of the
Yes.
big differences
Yes.
with what you do. I mean, that's huge to have an address. And then that goes, we did a show recently too on obtaining identification cards. And this is just all encompassing. It all seems to kind of work together, right?
And that's part of the process, is getting them to get an ID, get a job, but they have somewhere stable. They have somewhere that it's a community, our locations. So it's just getting them off the street, and they're easier to kind of remedy the situations that they're going through while they're in a safe environment. Yes. It's very difficult to be on the street and provide some type of mental health counseling or get off of substance abuse. But they're in a unit, we're able to see them every day. We're able to provide services for them. We're able to give them clothing, food, whatever it is that they need to make themselves better. So it's a transition for them. It's very difficult.
And you have staff 24 hours, right? Because you have people from so many walks of life living relatively, close, and so therefore that's super important.
We have 24-hour staff. We have, like I said, mental health counseling. So whatever it is that they need at that moment, there's someone there to help them.
Awesome.
And if we can't, we have wonderful partners and wonderful resources that we could refer people to.
Yeah. And, I know a report from Florida Tax Watch, I think it was just this month, saying the law falls short in at least one of its goals, and that's helping the so-called missing middle, or renters who maybe make too much to get housing subsidies, but not enough to make the market rate rent. So part of that's because the law, it gave a number of counties, and Orange County is included, Commissioner, with that, the ability to opt out of providing a specific tax exemption. So, Commissioner, do you see this as a valuable law in need of adjustment, or is there perhaps a different path that you would like to see the state take?
I think the intent was very good. I want to preface that because I know when legislators go, it's impossible for one legislator to know what happens in 67 counties. And the intent was that you could build pretty much anywhere so that you could build faster, quicker, and easier. The problem is, and what Danny keeps referring to, is wraparound services. So we could have this great 7-story building with 300 units on the West Coast with no public transit, no easy way to get to work, proper schools and the right distance. So all of these factors come in because it really does, you kind of have to put your arms around people who are building back up. And so if you don't have that, you're just kind of left in the left field. And the other problem we have is we have an internal government process and how quickly those things move. And it's really what drives the market. So if it takes 2 years to build an apartment complex, there's a lot of cost on that builder, and that builder needs to recoup that money. And so what ends up happening, the consumer pays for it. And so you can do it in a small way, but to do it at that large capacity, it takes such a long time. And then lastly, that developer is committed to 30 years. The reality is in apartments, you can recoup your investment in 4 years on a market rate apartment. So what's the lure besides a good heart for someone to want to necessarily go down that route? And so this is why you're seeing smaller projects, much more controlled environments, but the need is so much bigger than the availability. And until we can really miss that middle section of length, of cost, of services. We're always kind of chasing ourselves on that.
Chasing ourselves with that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering too, so for folks watching, they might know someone who's about to reach a situation. What makes perhaps seeking your assistance, Danny, sluggish? What slows it down? Because these folks, they can't afford to wait for anything else. So what's going on? What's that red tape?
Well, I think with us, one of the biggest barriers we have is locating the person. They're on the street, they're in a tent encampment, they're living in a car. We identify where they're at, then go back the next day and they've been moved or they move somewhere else. So, they have income, right? They're possibly going to qualify to come into one of our units, but it's locating them. That's the biggest problem. Once we get them into our units, then we start that good work. But it's when they're out there, it's really difficult to locate them because they're constantly moving or they're being moved.
And I want to add to that because another issue which she hasn't mentioned is the paperwork. You can't just come in and say, my name is Myra, okay?
Yep.
What documents do you have? Who are your dependents? What job do you have? What resources do you have? There's a lot that you have to do. And a lot of people think they just show up and it's like, here's your keys and you go in.
That's the thing.
And I've seen a lot on my end internally with the county. It's getting people to submit the documentation to qualify.
It's like, it's even marriage license or things. Whenever you go, you have to be armed with so many things, and it's that organization too. I'm sure these resources could help with that, but also being armed with that content would make it less sluggish. So Commissioner Uribe, is enough being done to address the housing issue as one of your final takeaways? And what is the appetite among local and state leaders, perhaps for more, aggressive action?
There's definitely an appetite. I just think it's just growing faster than we can help resolve it. And I think that's what their biggest handicap is we know there's an issue. There just isn't enough money. There just aren't enough people. And even though there's great people like Pathlight Homes and the Salvation Army and the Christian Service Center and all these folks, there's more than what they're capable of doing. And so we're all trying to get the information to the people, prevent things from happening. And I wish we all could work in like a big circle and just kind of, dissect this. But I believe that there's an appetite and there's a passion. All of us come to work wanting to make everyone's life better and giving them an opportunity that this great town and this great country actually has. So yes, there'll always be a request and there's always going to be a push, and we're going to keep fighting. People like Danny on the nonprofit side, people like me on the government side, you better believe our heart is in it for the right reason. And we'd love to see a day when this is no longer an issue. Yeah,
indeed. And to have a local leader here, Danny, too, what do you want the commissioner to know from your conversations you're having, some of those days where you're just struggling a little bit, like, gosh sakes, I wish we had some sort of a solution to this. What would that be to your local leaders where you need a little bit of a nudge or help?
I think everyone sees homelessness and affordable housing a little bit different. But I think communication is key. I think having those conversations, hearing the good, the bad, the ugly, just having those discussions, because we all have the same goal, right? It's just meeting kind of somewhere in the middle to get that done. Yeah. And at times there's so many people, a lot of times don't listen to each other. But I think it's great if we all are in one room and have a conversation and say, this is what we want. How do we get there? It's working together, pretty much.
Yeah. And thank you for doing what you do. Thank you. And I know, so before Pathlight, you were with the coalition, correct?
Yep.
Wow, so your heart is right there, as you are with your public service commissioner. And we can't thank you enough for being a fighter for these folks. And we really appreciate your time as we wrap up
Thank you so much
today. Thank you. Come back anytime. You guys know that. So much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more.